Your gut bacteria are producing a metabolic superpower you have probably never heard of, and it may be the missing link between digestive health and cognitive function. What if the secret to brain protection, stable blood sugar, and natural weight management was hiding inside your colon all along? Today we are diving into the extraordinary conversation between two molecules that most people do not even know exist.
Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at Mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Hello and welcome to Dr. Mercola Cellular Wisdom.
That is right. We are talking about butyrate and GLP-1, and the way these two compounds work together is frankly astonishing when you start to understand the mechanisms. Butyrate is a short-chain fatty acid, or SCFA, that your body produces naturally when beneficial bacteria in your gut ferment dietary fiber you cannot digest on your own. This process happens constantly if you are feeding your microbiome the right foods, but most people's guts never produce enough of it to experience the full spectrum of health benefits that this molecule offers.
The science here is elegant and surprisingly simple when you understand the underlying mechanisms. Butyrate is not just some random byproduct of digestion that your body then discards as waste material. It serves as the primary energy source for colonocytes, which are the specialized cells that line your colon and form your intestinal barrier. We're talking about butyrate providing up to 70% of the energy these cells need to function properly every single day. That is a massive percentage for one single molecule to supply.
And that brings us to the real star of the show, or perhaps the duet between two molecules working in concert. Butyrate directly nourishes L cells in your intestinal lining, and these L cells are the ones producing GLP-1 after you eat a meal. GLP-1 is what some researchers call a master regulator of metabolic health, and it does an impressive amount of work in your body every single day. When you eat, GLP-1 enhances insulin release, suppresses glucagon, slows how fast your stomach empties, and promotes that feeling of fullness that stops you from overeating.
So we are looking at a natural system where butyrate fuels the cells that produce GLP-1, which then regulates your blood sugar and suppresses your appetite in a synchronized way. But there is more happening here than just these basic metabolic functions. Butyrate also works independently to boost something called fat oxidation and thermogenesis in brown adipose tissue. That is your metabolically active brown fat, the kind that actually burns calories instead of storing them like regular white fat does.
The research backs this up convincingly with animal models that show remarkable results. When scientists fed mice a high-fat diet, those given butyrate supplementation did not gain the weight their counterparts did. Their insulin sensitivity improved as well compared to control groups. Now, we know animal studies do not always translate perfectly to humans, but this gives us a glimpse into the fundamental mechanisms at work in your own body when butyrate production is optimized.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because GLP-1 is not just working in your gut and pancreas doing metabolic work. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, which is a pretty significant thing. Very few molecules can accomplish that feat because the barrier is very selective about what it allows through. Once it crosses that barrier, GLP-1 acts as what scientists call a neuropeptide, influencing appetite regulation in your brain, neuroprotection, and even cognitive function at the cellular level.
GLP-1 receptors are found in critical brain regions like the hippocampus and cortex. Those are the areas involved in memory formation, learning, and emotional regulation. So when your gut is producing optimal amounts of GLP-1, you are not just regulating your appetite and blood sugar. You are potentially supporting brain health, protecting neurons from damage, and maintaining cognitive sharpness as you age.
The gut-brain axis is not a one-way street at all. It is a bidirectional communication highway, meaning your brain sends signals to your gut and your gut sends signals to your brain. Everything in this system is connected and dependent on proper signaling. When you optimize butyrate production, you are essentially upgrading the entire communication network between your digestive system and your central nervous system.
So the practical question everyone wants to know is, how do you actually produce more butyrate in your system? The answer starts with fiber, specifically soluble fiber and resistant starch. Resistant starch is found in potatoes and rice that have been cooked and then cooled. The cooling process changes the starch structure in a way that makes it resistant to digestion. And that is exactly what your beneficial bacteria need to thrive and multiply.
Beyond that foundational list, you have artichokes, garlic, onions, leeks, and asparagus. These are not just random vegetables thrown on a plate. They contain compounds called prebiotics, which are essentially food for your beneficial bacteria. Bananas, particularly slightly underripe ones, contain resistant starch as well. Oats and legumes round out the list of foods that support butyrate-producing bacteria. The diversity of these foods makes it easy to include them in your daily eating patterns without getting bored.
And do not overlook fermented foods in your dietary strategy at all. Sauerkraut and kimchi contain live bacteria that actually contribute to the population of bacteria in your gut that produce butyrate. So you are not just feeding beneficial bacteria with prebiotics. You are also introducing them directly through fermented foods. The combination is powerful, and when these two strategies work together, your butyrate production rises significantly over time.
The synergy between feeding your bacteria and introducing new strains creates a powerful transformation in your gut health. When you combine prebiotic foods with fermented foods, you establish a thriving ecosystem that produces optimal amounts of butyrate. This is not just theory. Thousands of people have seen dramatic improvements in both their metabolic health and cognitive function simply by making these dietary adjustments.
Now here is the critical part. Everyone needs to understand about what happens when things go wrong. What happens when this system breaks down and falls apart completely? When butyrate production plummets, GLP-1 signaling suffers as a direct result. The consequences are significant and far-reaching. Poor diet is an obvious culprit. If you are eating mostly processed foods and refined carbohydrates, your beneficial bacteria do not have the fiber they need to survive and thrive.
But there are other disruptors that people do not think about as much as they should. Chronic antibiotic use kills beneficial bacteria along with the harmful ones, disrupting the entire ecosystem of your gut microbiome. Chronic stress can also damage the lining of your intestines and alter your bacterial composition in harmful ways. When butyrate production drops, metabolic dysfunction follows, insulin sensitivity declines, and blood sugar control becomes more difficult to maintain.
The neurological consequences are equally concerning and should not be ignored. Reduced GLP-1 signaling contributes to neuroinflammation, which is inflammation inside the brain itself. Chronic neuroinflammation is now recognized as a contributing factor to cognitive decline and age-related cognitive dysfunction. So, when you are not producing enough butyrate, you are potentially compromising both your metabolic health and your brain health simultaneously.
This is why understanding the butyrate GLP-1 axis is not just about weight management or blood sugar control, though those are important health goals. It is about protecting your brain, maintaining cognitive clarity, preserving memory function, and supporting healthy aging at a cellular level. The system is remarkably elegant when you step back and look at how all the pieces fit together.
If you are interested in diving deeper into the science of how your gut produces these critical signaling molecules and what you can do to optimize this system for better health, head to Mercola.com. Dr. Mercola has broken down the detailed mechanisms and practical strategies for supporting your butyrate production and maintaining optimal GLP-1 signaling for both metabolic and cognitive health.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. See you in the next episode.
Looking for trusted health wisdom you can hold in your hands? Discover the life-changing books of Dr. Mercola at joyhousepublishing.com. These titles bring decades of natural health research into practical steps for better energy, stronger immunity, and clearer thinking. Take charge of your health with guidance rooted in science and experience. Visit joyhousepublishing.com now and claim your bonuses while they are available.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.